Hello everyone, Sam from the VXR collection. Right, I've been asked, basically, so I've put it out to review what you guys would like from the channel. So one of the guys amongst the crowd, Simon, who's got one of the very early Vector VXR estate Arden Blue, I think it was an Express vehicle. He's asking, how do you take off the intake plenum? Now, I've done a few of these from when you do changing coils or plugs, or if you want to get access to the rear bank. There is many ways you can do it. However, I will show you the way how I do it, which I find the safest way of doing it. So yeah, I'll walk you through the steps of what I'm going to do. So first of all, you want to do is take oil filler cap and take the engine cover off. So once your engine cover is removed, you will see more of the intake plenum. Obviously mine's blue, the original should be like a matte finish black. However, over time heat gets to it and they just peel off, and it usually ends up just like this dull silver effect. A lot of people polish them, paint them, do whatever you want to do with them. Some hydro dip them, which look quite cool, but I just went for the blue, being the blue car. So first of all, you basically want to start from the back to the front. So what I do is I will start with the coolant lines coming off the header tank. So you only need to take off one of them, which is this right hand one. So you've got a bolt here, you've got a retaining bolt above the heat shield here, and you've also got a bolt here which bolts directly into the intake manifold. So you need to undo them. The original hose clamps will have the pinch clamps, which you call them. I've got upgraded silicone ones which have got like a crush clamp. So either way, you want to undo that and then pull the hose line off. It may be worthwhile, if you're cold, just cracking the header tank to let the pressure out, which I will do now. I might get a hiss eventually. I didn't, typical. So yeah, that's what the next step is, basically remove that coolant line and pull it over to one side. So there we go. I've just took those three retaining bolts out and the clamp onto the header tank and just moved it over to the left hand side. So now what we're going to do is move on to the air intake feed into the throttle body. So what you'll need to do is undo the hose clamps here and possibly here, depending on how easy it is to come out. And you also want to unplug this sensor here, like that, and ideally this one here, so then you can take the whole pipe off. Okay, so once you've removed the feed pipe into the throttle body, you want to move over to the back. So this is the ECU here. So you've got two big main harnesses that go into it, and there's a very small earth wire just here, which I think is either a 6 or 7mm nut. Be very careful of this. Make sure you're careful when removing it, and for God's sake, remember to put it back on when you reassemble, otherwise you ain't going to start. No end of problems for people forgetting to put this earth wire back on. I'll remove it and I'll show you what we're talking about. Okay, so this is the earth wire for the ECU. I'll put the 7mm bolt up the top here. So yeah, make sure it's removed and just put it to one side. So it will kick around because it's quite stiff, to be fair. And then you can just simply remove this harness here. So there's a little push clip here, and then basically you move this chrome section, pull it towards you, and then the one underneath it is reversed. There you go, that's both ECU wiring harnesses removed. So this one, you can't put them in the wrong way around, it's physically impossible because of the way they're shaped. If you really want some reassurance, the engine harness that goes to the left of the engine towards the belt area goes underneath, and the one to the right that sits on top in this duct here goes on top. Once you've removed that wiring harness, what I do, you'll have access to this 10mm nut here. I think it's 10mm. Undo that, and then the whole plastic channel can come up. So that's the 10mm nut removed, the whole channel is out of the way, so it then gains you access to further pipework at the back of the plenum. So there's a couple that you need to be cautious of. First one is this top one here with this white tag on it. This is very common for splitting. So if you've got issues with engine management light and idling issues, worth checking this. Around this one-way valve here, this sort of cylinder shaped section of the pipework, that's the one-way valve. So the pipe turned brittle because of the heat and eventually they crack. This is already on its second one, so just be mindful that when you do go to either change plugs or for whatever reason take this plenum off, check the pipe. Not a lot of money, it can be a little bit tricky to get hold of, but about 30 quid usually, but it's very easy to change. So there's a plug here, there's a plug further down the back there, this black pipe here which you can just about see, and then it simply clips in to the vacuum pump from the brake servo here. So it's literally pull, 3 tabs and it's out. So nice and simple. So yeah, push the tab in, slide it off, nice and simple. So, and then underneath that, you'll just about see it, there is a silver, just about see it, 10mm bolt. That needs to be removed, but take care when you do this, because these two main pipe works are connected on a union block, which is basically seal fitted. So once you've removed this bolt, they will become a little bit flexible on the pipe work here, but just take your time. Depending how long they've been in there, they can be a little bit tricky to remove, but be patient with it, because the last thing you want is a seal falling into the plenum, or even worse, losing it down into the engine bay, because those pipes are going to be no good. So that's our next job. Okay, so that's that bolt removed, and as you can see, my pipe work has come out because it's not long been put back together from the engine rebuild. So there's not a lot of movement on it. What we need to do is unbolt this bracket here with these two 10mm nuts here. So that's our next thing to do. So yeah, one here, and then hopefully that will give us a little bit more movement on that pipe work at the back. Okay, so once that bracket's out of the way, as I said, pipe work's got enough movement so it now clears the intake plenum completely. So now we've done all that at the back, heat work slightly forwards. Now the lambda sensor bracket, 10mm bolt here, that needs to come out. So once removed, you'll have a little bit of flexibility on the wiring, so you can just simply turn this and it will give it enough purchase so it will clear for when you lift the plenum. So now you've done that, your main task is the 13mm pinch bolts that hold the plenum to the engine block itself. So you've got 1, 2, 3 here, and then you've got 1, 2, and then a third one is hidden down the side. Okay, so that's all of the bolts released. What I tend to do is leave the 5 in, and then the smaller one that's in the recess, undo it and just simply take out, put it to one side. This is just a little easier to pull off when you come off. So that is plenum loose. Now the only thing you've got to be cautious of before you get too excited is the wiring on the throttle body. Now there isn't a lot of movement on it, so as and when you lift it, try to lever it and flip it this way and support it whilst you gain access to the plug on the throttle body. If it's the first time you've got to this before, chances are it will have a locking tag on the plug which you will need to release, which will then stick out proud, and then you can just simply unplug the plug which goes onto the throttle body. So here we are, I'm supporting it to the left hand side. So here's the throttle body plug. Now my one doesn't have the locking tab anymore because they're quite often and quite common for as they get older they basically get weak because of heat and they split. But to be fair, they don't serve a purpose as much anyway, purely because of the location of the plug. It doesn't really give it a chance to go anywhere. So like this one, most of them will just be a simple plug and play. So simply unplug that and you'll be able to put the intake plenum to one side. Okay, so now you've removed the intake plenum, obviously you've got 6 intake areas which are now exposed to the elements. So depending on what you want to do under here, my suggestion would be either get a cloth or some paper towel and simply block up the 6 ports whilst you do whatever you need to do, just to stop anything falling down there, because God forbid you do, because it's just a nightmare to try and recover anything. So I did my coils, done all 6 a while back. So as you can see, the 3 at the front, very easy to access, but the 3 at the back are a little bit tricky. So a little bit of patience, they do come apart quite easy, and simply to reinstall is the reverse. So pretty straightforward. These are the pipes you've got to be careful of when you do removal. So yeah, there you go. That's the guide to remove the intake manifold.